Okay.
Okay.
It's not good yet?
I got 9 o'clock.
Now we're all right, it's 9 o'clock or 9:01 maybe by now. Oh. A call to order the Land Use and Information Committee for July 7th, 2026. I know what I sound like, yeah. You tried again. It's 9:01 and I'll call to order the Land Use and Information Committee for July 7th of 2026. Notice has been posted in accordance with the Wisconsin Statute 19.84 open meeting laws. Now is the time in the agenda for public comments. If there's anyone here wishing to address an issue that's not on the agenda for public hearing. Seeing none, I will continue with a motion to approve the agenda order.
So make a motion to approve the agenda order.
I think Chuck beat you, so Supervisor Anderson, seconded by Supervisor Moyer. All in favor? Aye. Motion's carried. Approval of the minutes of the June 2nd, 2026 meeting.
Motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to by Supervisor Blumberg to approve the minutes. Second. Supervisor Moyer, I think won that one. Any further discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion's carried. Now we also need to approve the minutes of our one agenda item of June 25th.
To approve those minutes as well.
Motion to approve again by Supervisor Blumberg, second by Supervisor Anderson. Any discussion of those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. On to the public hearings. Jason, do you want to run through that?
Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Tuesday, July 7, 2026 at 9 a.m. at the Burnett County Government Center in room 165, Town of Meaden, Cyberton, Wisconsin, regarding the following Burnett County Land Use Shoreline Protection Ordinances. Number 1, conditional use permit, CUP 2608 Verhaslet. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Swiss, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Gary Verhaslet has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to allow outside storage on the parcel located at 30276 North 7th Avenue in the C1 zoning district. A portion of lot 34, the subdivision of the northwest quarter of section 28, located in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of section 28, town 41 north, range 16 west. Number 2, conditional use permit CUP 2613. Erickson Commercial LLC, public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Jackson, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Kenneth Erickson, on behalf of Erickson Commercial LLC, has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to construct one mini storage rental building over the next 3 years, located at 5051 County Road A in the R2 zoning district, Lot 1, CSM, Volume 14, page 193, in the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter, section 29, town 40 north, range 15 west. Number 3, map amendment MAP 2606 Anderson to rezone the parcel with tax ID 1991 with address 24125 Swenson Road in the southeast quarter, the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter, section 10, town 38 north, range 17 west, located in the town of Daniels from A2 agricultural residential to RR3 residential recreation zoning district. Zoning change requested by Robert Anderson. Number 4, map amendment MAP 2607 Burnett County to rezone approximately 1.63 acres of the parcel with tax ID 12324 with address 7347 Midtown Road, the north 283 feet of the north half of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter, lying east of Lot 1 CSM Volume 2, page 58, and lying west of Lot 1 CSM Volume 3, page 26, section 33, town 39 north, range 16 west. Located in the town of Meaden from RR2 residential recreation to C1 commercial zoning district. Zoning change requested by Interfaith Caregivers on behalf of Burnett County. Note conditional use permit CUP 2614 goes along with this request. Number 5, conditional use permit CUP 2614, Burnett County, public notice regarding all persons in the town of Mena and Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Interfaith Caregivers on behalf of Burnett County has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to operate various outdoor, retail, and commercial activities on the parcel located at 7347 Midtown Road in the C1 zoning district, the north 283 feet of the north half of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter lying east of Lot 1, CSM Volume 2, page 58, and lying west of Lot 1, CSM Volume 3, page 26, Section 33, Town 39 North, Range 16 West. Note map amendment MAP 2607 goes along with this request.
Okay, so we'll start with 2608 for Salt. Come on up and introduce yourself for the record and run by what you want to do.
My name is Gary Verhasselt. I own a mini storage in Danbury. We built them several years ago and well, basically we're full. So we're looking to get some outside storage. I was not aware that I needed a permit for that till Jason called me. So that's what I'm here is asking for some outside storage. So
Okay, what extent of outdoor storage are you proposing?
I have requests for ice houses, trailers, and then we have 2 storage containers in there at this point.
I'm just still catching up here. Oh, I was just looking at a photo. It looks like some of the stuff that is stored was behind the buildings you have.
There's 1 ice house on the back side and then 2 containers and then the ice house out in the front corner.
And ice houses and look kind of like a manufactured camper
The
type of
fish
thing.
house, yeah,
Fish house.
fish house, yeah.
Yeah. Ice castle, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, that's the word.
So, any committee member questions? Okay, with that, I will, I need to open a public hearing.
Okay.
So you take a seat, and then we'll probably bring you back up to discuss it. So is there anyone here present wishing, opening the public hearing on this matter? Anyone here wishing to speak to this issue? Public hearing or online? Hearing none? Right. Okay, I'll close the public hearing and open it for committee discussion. I can't talk this morning, excuse me. The concern I had is, one of the issues about open storage, limiting it to commercial, often with screening and other issues, if there's a lot of stuff, is to avoid 2 things, it's clutter and also security. Because if there's, things that are attractive to somebody trying to vandalize or
We
steal.
did have a problem there 4 or 5 years ago. We were probably getting 6 to 8 locks cut a month. So then we've now fenced the whole thing.
Right, but then you understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That's why
We
we,
haven't had a big call for it, but like I said, I didn't realize it wasn't.
well, my thoughts, just as if you were storing a couple of ice castles on the back side of the buildings, it's pretty innocuous. If you have a lot of stuff in the front between the road, the
Oh, and I
fence
don't
and.
want it to look like a junkyard either, because then people don't want to rent. I like a nice clean look and.
No, I mean, that you understand the concerns. That's,
No, I'm okay with that if we just. The
Yep.
most we've ever had it, there's 3 of the ice castles at a time, so there's plenty of room for that.
there, in a situation like that, in other storage facilities where we have an intersection and residences around, we've required additional screening for that. Yours is fairly small and compact already. Looks like it might be fairly well screened to the north naturally, but off the property probably.
Yeah, some of those trees are on ours too, but yeah.
Oh.
And then off to the east, that's just an open field with bushes and stuff. So
I guess my thoughts, I'd hate to do an open-ended, outside storage unless there's limits to, how much can be stored outside until screening is required. I don't know if that would be hard to wordsmith or, because it looks pretty, this is a 2025 aerial photo and it, looks pretty neat.
Yeah.
But if we, put a conditional use just for outside storage, then there's no control
No,
over what might happen.
I think you would not disagree with us. Some limits are not inappropriate.
No.
Keep it the way you have it,
Right.
somebody else might own it someday, right?
Right.
Whatever we approve is gonna carry to those other people.
Well, never drive by there, you'll see we do weed control 3 times a year and everything else we want it looking nice, because when people come there and it looks like junk, they don't want to rent.
No, I think, and I would be thinking, and I'm just spitballing here, I'd be thinking no open storage between the structures and the front or right away of 70. And only 77, I mean, sorry. And again, with your drive access to the buildings and whatnot, about the only places you really have on the back side, the north side of the buildings. That's available space. And if it's limited to like boat trailers, ice castles type of things, people often want to store the boat trailer in the summer
Right, so they don't use it.
because they're not, with that kind of thing. And limit it to those areas, I could see us making that a condition.
What about the storage containers?
Where-
We have 2 of those. In the south end of the one building now, would we be able to put any more on the ends of those buildings, because they're completely enclosed?
So they're not shown on that
That's what I was
25
gonna say.
aerial, but they are, I think they're south of building 5.
Correct.
There's 2 of them there.
Same
Okay.
color as the, mini storages and everything, but
Yeah, probably.
Are those,
I think that there's a couple other concerns about that, though. A little bit of if they're obstructing the vision triangle of the road, would they meet the setback? in the state
They
highway?
would, yeah, cause there's
the fence is not set back now.
the
Okay.
fences,
About 40 feet.
But there's actually room there then. It's
the
not.
fence is on the right of way line.
Right,
It's not on the setback.
Right.
But the setback is reduced, cause that's in the village overlay, so it only has to be 10 feet from the road right away.
all right.
No.
There's no issue with that.
No.
And again, we're looking at safety issues. You don't want to obstruct. Not that there's a lot of traffic on that street, but you don't want to obstruct vision either.
that's my question, is that outside storage or are those additional structures? I mean, because I know we've been permitting,
Well, it's, yeah, I mean, it's structures.
so then they just need a land use permit for
Yeah.
an additional structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they movable or?
Yeah, they're not permanent,
Well,
they're just sitting on blocks.
true, but we kind of say anything as structure is something with form, shape and utility. It's the idea of putting the shed down by the lake shore on skis so that you can move it. No, it's still a shed, right? So these things are still storage structures. So they probably should have a land use permit for their
Other
presence,
storage facilities that use them have had to get land use permits for them,
right?
so.
So but maybe in that case, you should put a limit on how many of those there could be.
I was just gonna ask, how many more are you thinking about putting in?
10 total, so it'd be 2 on each, but there's 5 buildings, there'd be 2 next to each building, that's all we're gonna have. And I'm not sure I'm gonna do that unless I stay full, of course.
This is a conditional use for the use, so I suppose what we could do is consider them exterior storage structures requiring land use permits.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the application, containers.
Okay.
Um,
So we're good with what we published.
yeah, and that's part of the reason why I sent a letter too, was saying when I drove by, there's containers sitting there, so.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're blending in. I mean, I have to admit, I drove by that and didn't notice them. I wasn't looking at them.
Yeah, I mean,
And on the containers, I only buy brand new ones, cause I got a facility other places, so.
Yeah, I think
We
they're,
want them looking good.
and the containers are a little bit different than just clutter, right? I get that too. So,
yeah, they're not pink or, yellow or anything, so
No, we
they,
got them the same colors.
blend. That's why you didn't notice them probably, so.
No, I was usually, looking at the road when I went by. I had no reason to look at it. That was a while ago. But anyway,
What's the approximate size of the containers?
10 by 20, same as the buildings. Buildings are 20 feet deep also. Well, some of them are 44 feet deep, but where I have them now, they're not bigger than the buildings. So they fit the same.
so they
size.
just like a little addition to the building,
Yes.
almost. Kind of the equivalent of that.
Yeah.
So,
And not that I want to be overly restrictive, but just bringing up the possibility of, over time, you don't own it. Let's say someone likes graffiti and, I mean, it's like, we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. Just how do we keep it? It's a pretty visible lot. It's like, I don't want to over restrict and say you have to paint them tan. But I just don't know if there's any way to, at some point.
I mean, you could say they must generally match the building color or something like that. I don't think that would be,
Cause I want to buy all 10.
Yeah.
That's fine. If we could get the permit for those 10, and then any other exterior storage has to be on the north side of the buildings. Limited to trailers and stuff like that. Once in a while, I get people want to store an automobile. For the winter, they cover it and park it there and then move in the summer.
yeah, I think that's using the buildings as screening, essentially. And that's for everyone's interest, both for the clutter and for the less visibility of somebody seeing something they wanted to mess with. So,
now other outside storage facilities, you have usually capped the number
the number of,
of items that are allowed outside.
right,
So I don't know if you want to, say
Like
10
what?
containers and,
one behind the building or two.
well, if you want to do 20 other thing, you could just say, 10 containers and 20 other items
and
or
I'm looking
something.
at the one ice castle that's there, you could probably park two behind the big buildings each.
Yeah, because those buildings are 44 feet wide.
And then,
So we
maybe
get
one
two.
behind the small building, so.
Yeah.
So we just said 8 other items, miscellaneous items. Including but not limited to ice castles, automobile, camper type objects.
And I guess I still need clarification. So the 10 containers are structures or they're in the count for items?
No, they're separate.
Oh, I would say, I guess if, I don't want to word your motion for you, but if you're, you could say allowed to have 10 storage containers as additional structures and allowed to have X number of other trailers, campers, things stored to the north of the existing buildings,
Yeah,
is how I would word
8
something.
storage containers that could be placed on the roadward side of the
South
buildings
side.
and 8 additional
Outside storage.
outdoor storage of 8 additional, I'm trying to think of objects, items is the word. That including but not limited to ice castle, fishing trailers, campers, or automobiles on the north side of each building, of the buildings collectively.
In the existing building.
So do we want to take a shot at wordsmithing that, somebody, or you want me to try it?
I make a motion to approve conditional use permit CUP 2608 outside storage. With
Right.
adding, was it
8 outdoor storage items.
8 outdoor storage items? And these are the things that could be located to the north of the buildings.
And I put words about including but not limited to.
Okay, including but not limited.
Campers, trailers,
Campers.
automobiles.
And then in addition, up to 10. I suppose storage containers that can be located on the south side of the buildings. To be painted a similar color to the storage buildings. And are there any other conditions here? Follow all of the staff recommendations here.
Yeah, so then we're not dealing with one for screening, so then I guess my other suggestion would be all outside items meet all setbacks, including the wetland setback, and then follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
Okay, that's the motion. Second,
I'll second it.
second by Supervisor Anderson, motion by Karen Locke Anderson. Do we have that down, Wanda?
Anderson.
So any further discussion of the motion?
What was the staffing condition? The
It
number
was
two?
all outside items must meet all setbacks, including the wetland setback. And then the standard boilerplate, follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
Okay, yeah,
Storage containers on the end of the buildings that won't hinder any emergency vehicles or anything.
No, there's plenty of room to get.
no, it looks like he's got plenty of room for, because a lot of those places have doors on those sides, but this doesn't,
Okay.
so.
Plenty of room, all around,
Yeah,
back the north side.
50 feet apart, the buildings, so. And then 40 feet from the end up to the fence.
So,
No, we're losing 8 feet if we put more storage, because the storage containers are 8 feet.
right, that's sort of like building a little addition onto each building. But it's a separate entity, it's like a pre-manufactured porch you put on.
Sure.
So to speak. So,
That's for your benefit and your renter's benefit and who else might be involved in an emergency situation, so.
Yeah, I've had storage units for 30 years, we've never had an issue at any places, so hopefully that'll continue. Fires, no nothing, so.
okay, well, no further discussion of the motion. We have a motion and a second, so roll call vote. Supervisor Lindbergh,
Yes.
Supervisor Moyer,
Yes.
Supervisor Szymanski, pardon?
No.
No, okay. Supervisor Blumberg,
Yes.
Supervisor Chuck Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Karen Locke Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Conrad, yes. Motion's carried. So.
Thank you.
Conditional use permit number 2613 Erickson Commercial. So Maria, introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, my name is Maria Erickson. I'm here on behalf of Erickson Commercial. We are looking to get, back in 2021, we had a CUP approved for 2 buildings of storage units at this property. And we allowed the CUP to expire. So I'm here essentially renewing it. We have 1 building built. And we're proposing to build another one on the same parcel.
Oh, okay. So,
Just looking for one additional building?
Correct. It'll be twice as wide, but yes, 1 additional building. And that was what the original CUP was approved for.
Do you plan on ever putting up any more buildings or,
Not at this time.
you know?
okay, any,
Mark, we did some preliminary last minute sketches for them on things to show where the existing building is and where the new one can go. And it's a little tighter than they thought, and I think there were some misconceptions done with the setback from the highway. I'll hand these out and then I can explain things to you.
yeah, good.
That's just,
I would-
well,
I was gonna try to do it otherwise, so I'm glad you are.
sorry, they're not very pretty. They're my young guys are getting experience. So. Bigger one. It's just the same thing with just the part cut off, so. So you can see some setbacks, the 75 foot is was adhered to, but it's supposed to be, the highway right away for the county there is 50 feet. And so it's supposed to be 50 plus 42, so they are 17 feet short on the highway setback on the original building. And so if you can see the second one we placed back at the proper position where that one would go. And then we also show setbacks to the rear. I don't think it was realized that the rear was supposed to be 40 feet also. They're 30 feet from the sideline, but they're only, as you can see the dimension there, the closest point is 13.5 feet from the southwest corner of the existing building. And then the proposed one that they had laid out on their drawing was 210 by 60. And then we'd be 30 feet short, so they're gonna have to reduce their building to 200 feet to get that to fit in that location. So that would need to be adjustments on
Mhm.
what they would build or what they would propose. to do there.
Right, when we get the land use permit.
As I understand it, Mark, the issue there is that A was reconstructed with state aid type project where it's required to have 50 feet.
The federal
Like a
aid,
state
federal
highway.
aid, state highway, or federal aid.
Yeah,
When
not,
it's federal aid, they require different widths and so forth, and so this one was 50 feet. It was assumed, as the first thing says for highway setbacks is 75 feet from a county road. But it's supposed to be 42 feet plus whatever the right of way is, and the right of way is 50. So the total number is 92 instead of 75 in this location.
yeah, and it's not the first time that's happened on me, obviously. But because it's not necessarily monumented in some situations. So anyway, we had evidently issued the land use permit for the existing building as well at that setback.
And we also got an extension on it because
I'm sorry.
we also got an extension on the first land use permit.
Well, it's again, it's an error, but it's a kind of understandable because it's unusual. And it applies to A and not maybe any other county road. I'm not sure about that.
Well, the good thing is this committee has nothing to say about the first building, so it doesn't really matter.
No, I think we just recognize that doing an old curmudgeon anecdote saying this happened in Washburn County one time too. Similarly, in an ag building, we constructed state highway and it was an error on the part of my staff, but it was harmless. We made sure DOT agreed that it was harmless and we let it go. So, anyway, so now that we've kind of explained that, and the issue on the 40-foot rear lot setback, really the purpose of that is in dense subdivisions where you have lots back to back and you provide room for utilities and fire protection and whatnot. But it still applies. I know, that's the only other issue I see a little bit is that 10 feet on the new building. Theoretically should be 40, but it's 30 at the closest corner. Doesn't,
Well, they're just gonna have to make it,
They're
like
reducing.
Mark said, they're gonna make it 200 feet instead,
okay.
so that it'll meet the setback.
So we have no issue with that. The new building will meet the setbacks. We're good. Going forward then.
The site is completely open and there's heavy trees on around the edges of that from.
Oh, yeah, I drive by it. I can't not drive by that site. It's like avoid it. So yeah, there's plenty of screening there. And you didn't find any Carner blue butterflies.
We did not. No.
So not a bad thing. You just could have planted some more lupine for them,
And that DNR permit is applied for. We're just waiting to hear back on the final.
I think it's pretty likely to not be any presence.
Oh, yeah, there weren't any present. I'm just talking about the stormwater runoff permit
Oh,
with the DNR. Yeah.
That's, yeah. Because of
Blue
the
butterfly was the last piece of the puzzle.
Okay, yeah, the grading, the disturbance permit, yeah. It's flat, there's nowhere for it to go.
Been quite a bit of room between the buildings, how much room?
We've proposed 70 feet, I believe.
Now, the building is so big, when you look at the image on the map, it makes it look smaller, but it's and then the rest of it for the foreseeable future remains vacant, correct?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, take a break, and I'm gonna open a public hearing. Well, is there anyone here present? And the public hearing is now open on this request. Is anyone here present to testify regarding this matter or online? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and we'll pass this on to the committee.
I guess my question, it sounds like it was just kind of an honest mistake as far as the setback from County A. Is there any need to rectify, the setback problem with a variance, or it just doesn't matter?
Well, this committee has essentially no say in that.
I know we don't,
Yeah.
but, so we can't even say we're not gonna approve it unless there's a variance, or, okay.
I think the argument would be, like I kind of said, it's an error, but it's no harm because there's no abutting conflict with the property to the back. If there was, we would have to deal with it. And then when I talked about that happened to me before, we needed to go through DOT to verify that there wasn't an issue with it encroaching. They reconstructed State Highway 70 and said, no, there's no issue. It's an ag building anyway.
This building is not in the road right away by any means.
No.
Yeah.
The rear light.
The rear.
Yeah, I was just saying, so, yeah, there's,
Technically, it's not compliant, but it's an error, not a malicious violation. So I think if we took it to the board, would the board say no? No, of course not. They would approve it, in my opinion.
Then the only other question is, there's not a need for screening, like on the sides, but
No.
if that were to go away, because I don't know if they own that property, it's like, I just, potential future screening if it's needed. I doubt there ever will be, but
you guys usually don't require screening for just inside storage.
got it.
Right.
Yeah, it's
And-
usually, you guys only usually kick it in when you're doing outside
Right,
storage.
and then, we pointed out that there was an error on the setback, but it's no visible harm to anyone, so we'll let it be. I think that's how we have to handle that. Anything else would just be creating a controversy that none exists. So, any further discussion? So that's a very typical, reasonable request, so. So if no further discussion, I'll entertain a roll call vote.
We made a motion.
Wait a minute, sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve Cup 2613 with the following conditions. Land use permit to be obtained prior to construction, no outside storage allowed, follow all sign regulations, follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
Second,
Thanks, Randy. I was ahead of myself. Motion by Supervisor Szymanski, seconded by Supervisor Blomberg. So now we will do, with no further discussion, a roll call vote. Supervisor Lindbergh,
Yes.
Supervisor Moyer,
Yes.
Supervisor Szymanski,
Yes.
Supervisor Blomberg,
yes.
Supervisor Chuck Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Karen Lockwood Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Conroy, yes. The motion is carried. So we'll continue on to the next one.
Thank you.
This is a rezoning request by Anderson for rezone to A2 to RR3. Mr. Anderson, come forward.
That,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just introduce yourself for the record,
Bob Anderson.
Bob Anderson. And you are splitting a 10-acre into 2 5s, basically.
My hearing is going by the day, but
Well, mine is too. I'll talk about, you're gonna split a 10-acre parcel into 2 5-acre parcels, basically, correct?
well, what I want to do, I have a handicapped daughter and I want to build another house on my 10-acre parcel. It will be better for us with a different style house. And whether it's 5 acres or whatever it is, I don't know. I just need to be able to put another house on there. That's what I want to do.
Okay. Yeah, generally, we're a single house per parcel or a duplex potentially, but not 2 individual houses on one parcel. So in order to make that work out, it's a matter of just splitting it And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's nominally 10.
Mhm.
It's 10 acres.
And so he doesn't necessarily have to make 2 5s if it's RR3.
Yeah, he could do what's, the density development applies in RR3, you could do a 1 and a 9 or a 2 and an 8.
You
Something,
can,
but-
you're not stuck on 5 acres, is what
No.
I'm saying. You could do whatever size lot makes sense for
Right.
that. And then, because you're just taking it, you're changing from a density of 1 house per 10 acres to 1 house per 5. But it doesn't have to each be 5. It could be, like you said, 2 and 8,
Yeah,
4 and 6, whatever you want to do.
right.
And then one of the rationales for that is it allows at some point in the future that parcel is a separate parcel. So it could be sold, it's not gonna be a single house, a single parcel with 2 houses on it,
Right.
which is a loss of value typically to the seller of that. You instead have 2 separate lots with each a house. That's what you accomplish.
Right.
So I just wanted to make it clear that you knew it was not, didn't have to be 5 acres. It can be whatever you want,
Good, yeah, yeah.
okay?
Right.
So I think we got I'm gonna open a public hearing now. You can take a seat if you want.
Well, back where it was, you mean?
Oh, stay in the front row.
Okay. I should be sitting right alongside of you.
Yeah, I'm not loud anyway, and I'm amplified even.
That's why I sit here.
Yeah,
Anyway, okay. Open the public hearing on this matter. Is anyone here or online for this? I see and hear none. So I'll close the public hearing and go to the committee. Looking at the town plan for this, it looks like it's not an issue really. Or, it talks about agriculture out there, but it's a 10-acre parcel that recognizes a need for some residential infilling. So I don't think there's any issue with the town plan. Okay, did Daniels respond?
No correspondence, nope.
Okay. So, any committee, any questions for the applicant or anything?
So basically, we would just be rezoning, and then anything beyond that is just regular permitting.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So we'd be
Yeah, this
bring
is,
that request to the board for.
yeah, this is, it's simply a 10 that he perfectly rationally wants to build another home, and the right way to do it is to put that home on another parcel.
Good staff recommendation.
Right, I think I went past it.
Page 64. 63.
Yep, sorry about that. I scrolled past what I wanted to be. Yeah, there's an existing system that this requires an evaluation. Up on top of the Carlsberg Hill, as I recall.
Yeah, it's near there, yeah. We don't have any record of the sewer, so I don't know. That's why we need the sewer.
See what's there now. So. Okay, any further concern or discussion? Entertain a motion.
I make a motion, to forward the rezone request for MAP 2606 Anderson from A2 to RR3 to county board. With the following conditions: sanitary system evaluation for the existing septic to be submitted to the county prior to the parcel being divided, and to follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
And motion by Supervisor Karen Locke Anderson, second by Supervisor Chuck Anderson. Make it real easy so we know the names are all the same. Any further discussion? Entertain a roll call vote. Supervisor Lindbergh,
Yes.
Supervisor Moyer,
Yes.
Supervisor Szymanski,
Yes.
Supervisor Blumberg,
Yes.
Supervisor Chuck Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Karen Locke Anderson.
Yes.
Supervisor Conley, yes, motion's approved. It goes to county board now to make the final decision. You do not need to attend that. Jason will handle that.
You'll handle it, cause I'm gonna be on vacation. that-
Lucky you.
Yes, you will
Oh,
handle
okay, I will handle it.
Yes.
Jason will be gone. So you're approved.
You'll get back to it.
Yes, but I will send them all the letters. and all that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna pass the resolution around, so if you guys can sign that.
And while we're signing it, I'm going to call the next public hearing for map 2607 on behalf of Burnett County and the caregivers, whatever they are again.
Interfaith.
Interfaith, yes, couldn't think of that right off the top of my head. So are you here for that?
I sure am.
Come on up. And then be patient while we sign our names to the
Oh, good. I got more time than money.
document, but yeah, this is just so that you can get into the commercial zoning district, so you can maintain the kind of essentially quote marks on the word commercial, not for profit, but the kind of work you do
Right.
on the site.
Could you say your name for the record too, so she can add it in the minutes, please?
Pete Preston, president of the board for Interfaith Caregivers.
So again, looking at the map here.
And I think, and I guess I don't know if you wanna give a little reason why you're trying to move here, so they can understand, or I could,
No, I sure can.
yeah.
Interfaith Caregivers is a nonprofit organization that's been operated in this county for eons. And it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The main thing, two main programs that will benefit this rezoning is our woodlot or heat a home project, which last year we delivered 208 trailer loads of wood to people that can't afford to heat their homes for free. We need a place to process that. So anything from, wood splitting, stacking, delivering. The current position that we have for that is the vice president of the board, and he's finally thinking about retiring and maybe moving in the future. And I don't think the people that are gonna buy his house are gonna want to split and wood on his property. So we need a space to do that. Other program is Christmas for Kids. We served 368 children, I believe, last year. Not exactly sure that that's accurate, but it's pretty darn close. With 100 and some families, they give us a list of what they want for Christmas and we make it happen. We have a facility that we're renting that houses that program, and we want to combine everything into one to lower our costs, because this is a nonprofit. We work off of donations and grants, and both of those donations and grants are drying up. We don't want this program to quit, but so we need to save as much money as we can. So we're looking to take over the old Humane Society lot, which is now zoned, I believe, residential, and we need to rezone that so that we can run a chainsaw on it. And then have trucks coming in and out, and then eventually move everything together. That's the dream. Questions?
No, it sounds perfectly rational, and then by rezoning it, then you're being treated the same as if it was a commercial enterprise, even though you're not,
Right.
but the effect on adjoining property would be the same. So
Correct.
it's just the right way to do it. So that's good. And it's immediately adjacent to commercial zone strip on 35. And doesn't extend significantly farther back than most of those. So it's pretty consistent with mapping. Town of Meenan, make a response.
No, they did not weigh in on this one, no.
Their comprehensive plan, government/institutional, sort of fits right in, no? No issue with, no conflict with the plan, I can see.
Would you be moving any of the wood that's already on Denny's over there, or would you just
No, this is a Chuck, this is a 2 to 3 year project. So what the plan is once it's completed and able to operate, we would bring new timber into the new location and process it there and then fade out Denny's lot.
Probably looking at next year before.
Oh, probably
earliest.
2 or 3. Normally, we'll bring lumber or bring forestry in and it'll sit in log form for 2 years and then we'll process it. It'll sit for another year and then we'll deliver. So it's probably 2 to 3 years down the road
Out before you're fully over.
before that is fully done. And we wanna run both lots simultaneously just as a learning curve of the new one. Cause this is the way we've always done it, doesn't mean this is the way we're always gonna continue to do it.
So it's currently at Blodgett's?
Yes. Yep, has been there for eons.
Sure.
Question?
Not specifically a question, it might be more for discussion later, but you know, once it's rezoned, no matter what is there. Once it's commercial, that just stays with the property. The fact that it's adjoining commercial property just doesn't seem like an odd place to be doing that.
And it kind of was quasi-commercial before with the Humane Society, because that Humane Society was there prior to it being zoned. You didn't adopt zoning until like 06 or something,
The
so.
existing use doesn't matter.
And kind of neither here. No one seems to have sent any, input or objections back. If there's anybody in the near vicinity that is, going to be bugged by the noise, but they haven't responded, so.
No, and.
And
Again,
we're
it's,
quite old, so we don't work in the little 8 hours of the day.
it is in an area where there's other commercial. And if it was isolated, this spot zoning issue could come up, but not here. It's contiguous with commercial.
And it's almost right in the flight path, so people are used to planes and stuff flying over pretty consistently, so it's kind of, it's not the area you want to be if you're looking for peace and quiet.
Truly is I'm sure they're busy, but it's not a 24-hour a day operation, no matter what. So.
Correct.
So you're.
Some of us still
within
work
the-
for a living, unfortunately.
You're within the scale of what you can do. So.
How does that work? They're not gonna operate late, but let's say this isn't always what it is, do we put something in just about hours of operation or it doesn't matter?
No,
I mean,
not without knowing specifically what's gonna be there, because think of all the other commercial places nearby that could have a bar, loud music, traffic. It's,
Kind of have a bar right at the corner. almost,
already
right
do,
there,
yes.
So.
so not that they're known to have concerts or anything, but the point is, it is within the scope of a commercial district to have some noise.
Could it be that the former use of the property included the sound of barking dogs? So,
They don't stop for sunset.
They have no time limit.
So anyway, okay, any further discussion? We could entertain a motion for this rezone.
Question, are they gonna separate the lot from the county property and be the owner of that lot then?
No,
No,
And lease it from the county, so it's just a lease, it's gonna be a lease area then?
right, and again, the zoning district is split on a parcel, doesn't need a specific to a parcel. And we described it, I think, adequately to
that's why.
find where the
Very
commercial zone is.
specifically wrote how it was being, because that impacts the airport operations plan. They couldn't rezone anything south of the existing lots in there, because then that would have had to go through airport approval
But the
or
airport-
FAA approval or,
airport zoning
yeah.
issue, yeah. So this
Yeah.
is compliant and can't really be, it can't creep out of where it is
Yeah.
either, even under different ownership. So,
Well, and the county's gonna own it, so.
yeah, county's no plans to sell it.
Yeah.
So, but still, right, you never say never, but we're covered, I think. So any further questions or discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend rezone request map 2607 to the Burnett County Board. With the following two stipulations: lock and chain to be installed on septic tanks by 8/15/2026. follow all local, state, county, and federal regulations for this activity.
Just quick question, that's a holding tank, isn't it? No, or is it?
Jason, that was in the letter that you sent us.
I think it replaced the mound at field.
Yep, it was a mound system and then it was replaced by a tank.
Yeah, cause the mound was failing. I think it was undersized for the
For the load.
high strength waste they were using there.
Yeah, no doubt,
Pulled out or failed. Yeah, so now it's just a holding tank.
okay.
And I think I just gave the notice to Wanda yesterday about that it's due for servicing, so.
And that just changed for the record, it's a holding tank, not a septic tank.
Yeah.
That makes a difference,
Oh, yeah.
because it's being pumped all the time and the pumpers don't like to unlock the lid sometimes, but you need to keep it locked. So, anyway. So, that being the case, motion by Supervisor Shemetsky, second,
I'll second.
second by Supervisor Moyer. Any further discussion of the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Supervisor Lindbergh,
Yes.
Supervisor Moyer,
Yes.
Supervisor Shemansky,
Yes.
Supervisor Blumberg,
Yes.
Supervisor Chuck Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Karen Locke Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Conley, yes, motion's carried. Recommend the change of zoning to the county board. And you're gonna come right up in for the conditional use permit, yeah?
And I'm gonna pass this resolution around, so if you guys can sign that one, thank you.
We pretty much already talked about it, but
Yeah,
just again, for the record, your name again, and
Pete Preston, President of the Board of Interfaith Caregivers.
this is the conditional use permit to do the activities there involving wood and then establishing the presence for the Christmas facility
Correct.
as well. And might there be any other things you might contemplate doing?
Well, there's all kinds of things that we do in our programs, but it's mostly administrative at that point.
For just, it's a base of operations. for-
Correct. It's gonna be the central hub.
But we'll just note that this will be where Interfaith Caregivers establishes
Correct.
its self.
and the only reason they gotta get a CUP is for that outside type
activity.
activities. Yeah,
True,
So,
true. I mean, everything else would probably be permitted in the commercial district, you know? And if you get something really unique and new, and ask Jason first, that's all. So. I don't think we need to go through this again, so I'd entertain I gotta officially open the public hearing. Anyone here speaking to this matter? Seeing none, do not, Mark, no.
The only question I'd say is that they should probably have hours of operation, same as anybody else, if they're doing things on and things like that, because you'd be asking that for anybody else, I think. Typically, right? I mean, if it's a noise and so forth issue.
Yeah,
I had that written as a staff comment, you know,
okay.
if you, that's for you guys to consider though, if you want to.
I hadn't chased down to the staff comments for this yet. Good point, though, that,
What hours do you guys usually work chainsawing?
We start, I mean, normally we start, earliest we'd probably start at 7 in the morning. And the latest that we probably work is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There are some occasions when we get a load, when we get a volunteer group that comes up. That will sometimes work later than that. But it's very seldom. I would say maybe 6 times a year that will be past the 4 o'clock mark.
we might make it
And soon as the,
Seven.
7 to 5.
soon as the mosquitoes come, we leave. So
So you leave in July, August,
Right,
September,
correct.
October, yeah.
I would say we would never be past 6 o'clock at night.
No, so if we just do it 7 to 7.
Let's do that. That's not gonna bother anybody and you're safe. So we'll add that hours of operation, number 1 would be 7 to 7,
And that's for any outside activity, correct?
right?
Because the Christmas for Kids program runs into the wee hours of the night, but it's not.
It's
Outside.
it's inside. No, this is for just the noisy operation of wood, but any other, if you ever had another noisy thing you were gonna do, would fall into the same thing. So it's, Hours of operation for exterior activities, i.e. cutting wood, 7 to 7. And all outside items to meet setbacks, of course, lock and chain on the holding tank. And follow all local, state, county, state and federal requirements. Is the motion. Did somebody make it? So moved by Supervisor Anderson. I could have made it, but you know.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Szymanski. Any further discussion?
Just a question or comment or observation or whatever. From the application, the signature of Luann Ebersol indicates to me that she is still involved with the.
She's our director.
As well as her husband Larry.
Yep, Larry's on the board.
Okay. Good, thank you. They're from the village of Grantsburg.
Good.
They live just right around the corner from.
Yeah, you
I'm
know,
sorry.
you picked up on that. So no further discussion.
He is also the former village president.
Ah,
Oh, Jim, I'm sorry.
so, we'll now continue a roll call vote. Supervisor Lindbergh,
Yes.
Supervisor Moyer,
Yes.
Supervisor Szymanski,
Yes.
Supervisor Blummer,
Yes.
Supervisor Chuck Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Karen Lockwood,
Yes.
Supervisor Conrad, yes. Conditional use is approved subject to the rezoning being approved by the county board. There's no reason to think it won't be. So you're good.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So on to reviewing our potential changes to chapter 30 and the I2 industrial 2 zoning district. So everybody has studied and thought about this a little more. With something that's kind of come past Jason and I, we were talked about it briefly. Is in our purpose for the district intended to provide industrial operations related to high energy use and production such as data centers, energy storage facilities, solar energy systems, or wind energy systems. We got a couple comments that thought we meant to limit it to this district only, which is not the case. We have provisions for solar, you know, in other zoning districts, smaller ones. I think what we were intending to do here was for real high density, solely industrial level production of power, we wanted to be in this zoning district, right? So we also all got a flyer about a webinar tomorrow regarding solar regulations and all that. If I read through that solar model ordinance, and they define and I think you remember what that is, I'd have to look it up. There's a particular 4-letter kind of statement for high density ones that are the sole purpose of the project is to produce power. We might want to wordsmith this to make it clear we're talking about high level, large production where we would rezone for industrial.
Usage, not the for the usage instead of the production.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking if we did something like saying over a certain size, like the Viola Lake, I think is a 2.5 or 3, I think megawatt. And that's 14 acres. So, you know, I don't know if we pick, you know.
Yeah, I think the place where the state kicks in is at 10 megawatts or is it 100 megawatts? I forget.
Maybe 100.
Yeah, that is really large,
Yeah.
you know. And most of it, I think, but we just want to make sure we don't have a conflict is that somebody would impose a conditional use permit saying, well, no, it says you only can do that in this industrial district. Because trying to rezone to industrial for a relatively small project would be in conflict with probably comp plans and town zoning maps and the whole thing. So we need to make sure we don't inadvertently require that.
Cause right now, I think you can ask for a CUP for solar in like the some of the RR, the A2 districts, once you're over 20 kilowatts, I think, which is like a residential size solar. We have a CUP option in there, so yeah, this one, if we're trying to do large scale, I could try to come up with a number and put it in here or something.
Right.
I'd have to, yeah, verify what
think-
Public Service Commission kicks in at and see what we
I
want.
think that's what we're talking about. Where, you know, the little Cliff's Notes thing that we sent around about the St. Croix County issue was gonna fall under Public Service Commission. And one of the arguments that We Energies was making was that they were exceeding their authority as a county because the Public Service Commission didn't require that. And that had to do with the indemnifying the company for when you take it out of production,
Yeah.
decommissioning kind of thing. That they were requiring guarantees of decommissioning. And they thought, well, we're a big company, We Energies, of course we're decommissioned. Well, that's what they said, no, right? I mean, I could understand St. Croix County's concern, right? So anyway, I think that might.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow what you were saying.
I'm sorry, you're kind of new to this discussion too. I forgot to get that, but in St. Croix County, they were negotiating with We Energies over a huge, I forget how many thousand.
Or the
megawatt-
Excel there.
Pardon?
Is it Excel?
Excel or V, I forget which. Excel.
Well, it's the one out of Minneapolis.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, that would be Excel.
Excel.
okay.
That was like thousands of acres, I think, solar.
Yes, thousands of
Yes.
acres and thousand and way big enough to be under the State Public Service Commission auspices. The local governments are still allowed to participate in that. And St. Croix County had used a development agreement that was requiring We Energies to do some things. Excel, did it again. Excel, to do some things Excel didn't think they should have to do. And ultimately, they stopped the negotiation, didn't go forward with the project. But that was what St. Croix County was using, what was called a development agreement between the developer and the county to negotiate certain things. And in that new model ordinance, it also raises that as an option for local governments to provide is a developmental agreement as to address issues that you might not think about or have written down in your standards, setbacks, proximity to school, church, you know, whatever, other issues that you wouldn't normally think of. Right? So, anyway, that is something we should look at to clarify, because again, a couple people had said, well, you know, we don't want to see you prohibit solar or wind. We're not. We already are allowing it. But this language might have led one to believe that we were. So,
It looks like Public Service Commission kicks in at 100 megawatts or larger.
okay,
So we would,
so let's,
we need to, we'll think of or pick a number, I guess. I don't know.
well, I would say maybe we use that number, you know?
That if they're over 100 megawatts, they got a rezone to I2.
Yeah. What about that?
I would think less.
100 megawatt is probably
How many
gonna
acres?
be, well, if we're about 5 acres each for each megawatt,
5,000 no,
500 acres,
500 acres, but
that'd be pretty big.
yeah. I don't know that we're gonna see them that big, but that's the rub, right? If we're trying to guess what we might need to regulate,
I mean,
maybe,
would you wanna do something that was sized, 40 acres or larger? That they have to rezone to I2? I don't know. What size parcel are you
Let's-
thinking?
Let's think about the Webb Lake situation.
Yep,
That was 14 acres.
yep.
Everybody went crazy on that.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it seems to me like we should be almost something like 10 acres or more.
That's what I was just thinking.
well,
don't
I'm
know.
thinking of it's when I drive by, and you guys probably do too, the one just north of Rice Lake.
Yes,
It's in a farm.
yeah,
You know, and that's more than 10, I bet,
oh, for sure.
but it's an acceptable size, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Webb Lake was an acceptable size, but I was wrong.
Well,
So,
true, but it wasn't, I think it was misunderstood.
I think so too. but-
Great. See, the other element was in Webb Lake, that it did not involve any storage. It was linked into, so that would be the other thing we might want to wordsmith. It was linked right into the grid at a substation, right? So there was no issue with storage there, and it was owned by the electrical utility. They're not a co-op, but they're a utility. So maybe the other element should be that they would need to be both of a certain size, but also containing on-site storage. They would have to be industrial, right?
That Rice Lake one, just since you kind of brought it up, well, I'm looking at the aerial photo from, what year is it? I don't know, 2024, so I don't know if it's grown since then. I don't think it has,
I think it got bigger going to the north.
but it's about 26 acres
Okay.
or so.
I think it might be nibbling at another 5.
Yeah, it might have gotten bigger, cause yeah, I think it's on the north side of that swale now, or that
Right.
creek channel. Yeah, so it's probably pushing 40, close to 40 now.
Well, for the purpose of discussion, we could say at 40, but also maybe I think we're more concerned about that it's a totally industrial activity as opposed to mixed with ag. So, and that one still is sort of a farm. I don't know if anything's grazing between those things, but you know, it's an open space. Otherwise, it doesn't appear to have any storage or a substation or anything there. So I think maybe it's combined up above a certain, maybe 20 acres plus on-site storage requires it to be industrial. I think we're worried about the on-site storage if a fire ever happened, more than anything else.
And my question is, this is a new industrial district that we're not just talking this is specific to,
To that kind of use, yeah.
okay, I just want to clarify, because when we're saying industrial, it's like, so we're talking specifically, the industrial tech district.
So this would be the new I2 district, so whatever parameters you set for sizes, then somebody would have to rezone to that new district.
Well,
So I1 that currently exists we're not changing that language.
Okay, and the only reason I'm asking about that is it's like a rezone sticks with it until it's rezoned, and so it's not going to allow all the other industrial uses. This is specific to data.
Part of the reason to do this is two things. One of them is currently, right now, if somebody showed up and wanted to do a data center, we say, well, we only have a single industrial district that's relatively limited because it's rural county, right? You look at industrial zones in Milwaukee, there might be 8 different industrial zoning districts, not here. And what we say is, if the committee believes the request is similar to any of the enumerated uses, we can do a conditional use permit. So somebody might say, well, this is just a big warehouse, you know, that it's gonna store cute cat pictures for people, right? It really isn't like a warehouse, because there's a lot of electrical demand, a lot of water demand, hardly any employees and no products coming and going, except, you know, so because it's not like anything, we would say, no, you can't do it. But we're faced with somebody trying to argue that it is too like something, right? If we create a district where we are specific, the benefit of doing that is that we are limiting and defining what can be done, but also it's going to require a rezoning, which will give the towns authority to weigh in, and the whole county board would have to be on board, rather than this committee having to make a single conditional use permit approval under the limits on our denial ability under Act 67, which says if they promise to do everything, you have to say yes, right? So that's the scenario we're trying to analyze. So we can be cautious and, you know, put numbers in there that we think are fair. Somebody ever actually shows up and wants to do one, we'll have to sort that out, but we may not ever see it. You don't really know. Yeah,
Data centers and things like that, I think ought to be on a closed loop water system where they're not keep pulling groundwater.
that was what the state had in its proposed regulations, but never got adopted. Yeah, the other thing I learned recently about that is they still, you know, you can find that water and keep using it, but over time, it keeps, as a universal solvent, keeps picking up heavy metals and you have to keep adding water in because it still loses some evaporatively. So you wind up potentially, when you decommission this thing, with some really highly toxic water that you got to figure out what to do with, too. You know, so it is, the original idea of pumping it up and dumping it out was bad, but it isn't necessarily going to be something we would want to cope with. So we'd want to have assurances for the decommissioning of these sort of things too, that somebody is responsible for getting rid of that, right? So. But
And then solar, people want to come in, put in, take up farmland and put in a bunch of solar fields. Some of that stuff I think is on, isn't it on like ag? It needs to be changed to industrial, so they don't, that they're getting taxed at a higher rate instead of taxed at farmland. It's because once there's solar panels on it,
it's not really
you can't go
farmland.
run your tractor up and down it and go plant crops.
No, it's not really farmland anymore, other than maybe a beehive, right?
Right. Problem, and you have, there is certain prime farmland that you want to try to preserve that you don't want
I
to
think,
lost.
I think right now
Right.
under exclusive ag, you can't do it. right?
Correct, yeah, exclusive ag you could not do.
We
that.
got, we have a lot more A2 and other As than we do with exclusive ag.
Right, the people are gonna, big companies are gonna come in and start even 5 acre spots. It needs to be changed from out of that ag into industrial or something, so it's taxed at a higher rate.
I'm kind of wondering, the use-based assessment, would that make a difference? Would the assessor then have to assess a solar field differently? Is it's not ag anymore?
I would think so.
I mean, without changing, the zoning district necessarily. But I don't know that either,
I don't
for
know.
sure. The one more thing to kind of ask about. But I think for now, just we're kind of drifting about that because we don't want to, like Webb Lake was a good example of a little facility that met a need in a place where they needed it during the daytime in the summer, which solar made a lot of sense, right? And it wasn't very big. That kind of thing, I don't think we have a big issue with, but it's the St. Croix County scenario that we do, right?
Right. Yeah, cause I hate seeing farmland taken up by solar panels.
And there was in that article in the paper, there was a lot of concern raised to that county board. And that brings me back to I think adding the provision for a developmental agreement to our list of things we might do is a good idea. Because it would allow us to say, instead of you have to be so many feet all the time, would allow us to say we want to be able to have an agreement to negotiate additional setbacks, additional screening and other things should we feel a need to do. Right?
When I think of St. Croix County, I think of really quite good farming land.
Mhm.
I suppose there are some areas where it's just not so good, but
Well, again, that Excel Energy, got it right this time, project was cut in half almost from the original down to it's still really big and thousands of acres. I wrote a little Cliff Notes version, but I've forgotten most of it, but I think you guys all got it. As to what that was about. But anyway, back for this is more targeted to the, not just facilities, but storage. Also, battery storage is something we've been concerned about because in the case of that, in St. Croix County, they were gonna run a transmission line back to the cities, to the XL facility. So they weren't gonna store. It was gonna dump into the grid, but not in St. Croix County though, but in metro areas. Sure.
So a couple questions that I have, so, what I heard, right, was that we as a county can't just say, we don't want data centers and we don't want solar.
We
Is that-
can't say we don't want solar.
Huh?
Under state law, we can't prohibit solar
Or
or
wind.
wind.
Yeah.
Or wind?
And the state hasn't told us yet, we can't prohibit data centers, but one of the reasons we want to do this is in case they do, we will have regulations already in place that regulate them. Maybe tighter than they want, but if we do it before they do it, just like with agriculture. Yeah, an example of that is under the state livestock sighting law, the 500 is as low as you can go.
Say that last part.
500 animal units
Okay.
is where it has to start. But because in Burnett County, we'd started at 250 before the state passed that law, we were able to drop our regulation down to 250.
So that eliminated this whole CAFO thing.
Well, it didn't eliminate it, but it just said we're gonna regulate pretty hard and follow the state rules. We couldn't prohibit them under state law. We can't prohibit CAFOs either. So, and we can't prohibit wind and we can't prohibit solar, and I expect that when they get done, they'll say that you can't prohibit data centers. That just seems to be the way the state operates. And that's just me speculating, okay? But so the thing to do is to be able to regulate them, be able to manage your issues as best you can. And that's why we're going forward with this now, because the state hasn't yet, and at some point will, but then they kind of like to be all for local control right up till when the locals actually want to control something. Then they get hard to get along with. That's how
So
actually,
they can roll in and buy up land all day long and set it aside for whatever they deem is necessary, but we can't say no to what we want here locally.
in many cases,
Ridiculous.
yeah, in many cases, the state has preempted local control. Yeah, But
Same
not-
with, same with, cell towers.
yeah.
You can kind of go down the list of things that the state has basically said counties and locals you cannot regulate.
Right, we used to have.
Is they're smarter than us or what?
I won't comment on any of that on record.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, but we used to hear petitions regarding proposed cell towers and that ended. It was sometime after 2009. I know we were dealing with them at that
Well,
time.
Actually, recreational rentals even, right? We used to regulate them and then they made them a permitted use. So we still regulate them by license, but we can't deny somebody's making their home into a recreational rental all the time. Anyway, we don't need to keep beating on the state that we're a creature created by the state county board at the same time, so we're stuck with it. But I just wanted to kind of explain the rationale for doing this. And it isn't that we have one on the horizon that we have to cope with, it's that we just want to be prepared that we have thought about what we're up against here. Part of the thing to think about too is that the farther north you go, the less heat problems you have to manage, and you tend to have abundant water supply. So that's what makes us and the tribes too, they're looking at this too, concerned about these things because we're in a place, and you're seeing a lot of opposition in the metro areas. Around the cities, they're all opposed, not in my backyard. So they're gonna, where are they gonna go, right? And there's some, even at the incredible amount of computing power they have, distance is meaningful to where the demand is. Because there's a minuscule delay, even at the speed of light, right? So they kind of want to be not too far from the demand. So we, all those things make me think we might be vulnerable at some point. So,
So we just need to put numbers to some things here.
yeah, I think we're not gonna probably approve them today yet, but let's look at a number. And you guys think like 20 acres with on-site storage would be a defensible number? Well, that's a legitimate argument too, I just threw that out there.
Yeah. I'm thinking 10 acres at least, with onsite.
But with
storage.
on-site storage. Okay,
Maybe on the storage is a big deal.
yeah, because you might have, one out in some not very good farmland, kind of the Rice Lake scenario. That might be more than 10, but without any on-site storage and without any direct connection to the infrastructure, that's probably not gonna be as big a concern to us.
Do you want a number for ones that don't have on-site storage?
Well, do we want to put a ceiling? That's outside this though, right?
Well, what if somebody says, I wanna build a 40-acre solar farm, but it has no on-site storage, it's connected right to the grid?
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's still pretty big.
Yeah, so do you want a number that,
Yeah, let's use for
if somebody
without,
says, I don't have on-site storage, they're gonna say, this doesn't apply.
but let's say that we'll cap that if it's without storage and without,
I'd say 5 acres. Make it harder on them.
well, gotta be careful of getting to the point where your regulation is deemed prohibiting.
Yeah.
With ag, we had the same issue.
What
But I'm-
size was the acreage that was out by
If we
Red
go
Lake?
with 10, if we went with 10 with on-site storage, you went 20 without,
Go 10 with the same, just do 10.
well, but
Yeah.
remember, the real concern is the battery issue, not so much the amount of panels you have.
And in reality, I mean, you can pick whatever number you wanted, it's gonna have to be a rezone. Well. If you wanted 5 and you wanted 10, yeah, I guess that would kick in the threshold to county board, whatever number you decide on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta keep in mind that this isn't applying to anything now, it's just if somebody applies.
Yeah.
And what you don't want, and again, I'm devil's advocate arguing, I'm not, nothing's written in stone in my mind, but I'm just thinking in terms of if somebody comes in and said, you guys' standards are unreasonable and litigate with us, we want to be able to prevail. You always wanna have, hedge your bets a little bit that you win if you go to court. But, so what would that number be? But nobody has come up with any numbers.
Okay.
So better we should be conservative than overly generous. I get your point.
My question is, so let's say the limit is 20 acres, that doesn't mean there can be 20 acres of solar panels. I mean, if it's directly connected to the grid, because there's other limitations as far as setbacks and everything. So that doesn't mean, because the Web Lake one was 14 acres, but that had all kinds of boundaries around it.
Maybe what
and-
we want to say is not so much acreage as megawatts.
Well, that's what I was saying, yeah,
The rezone
usually you
is
cap them
acreage.
you could cap them by size to the megawatt quantity.
And
'Cause
if it's
they-
about 5 acres per megawatt. right?
Yeah, about that.
Okay, so if it was,
3 megawatts would be 15 acres.
Cause that's about what Web Lake was, and that's about what Viola, I think Viola is about 2.5 megawatts, and it's in that 12 to 14 acre range. So it's
Okay.
about 5 per acre.
okay,
And maybe you probably wanna use megawatts as your cap, cause let's say technology keeps getting better and better and better. And they can force more megawatts into smaller space, you're probably more concerned about the power than you are the size of the
Space,
facility, I
right.
guess.
yeah, and again, we're thinking, what do we have as a local government that we would have to contend with if there's a failure or a catastrophe? And the battery fire is probably the scariest of them. The actual panels don't really create much issue.
You do have a megawatt number for household, like if I'm.
Yeah, it was like
Something.
Kilowatts though.
20 kilowatt, it's pretty small.
There's 100
Do
kilowatt.
do we take that into consideration, like where do you go from this being a personal solar field to a commercial solar field?
Yeah,
I
let me
think
see,
it's,
let me see what number we got or we used.
I think we need some farming operations that would easily exceed.
typical home.
Yeah,
Let's see.
Are you planning to get in on that seminar tomorrow?
I signed up for it.
I did too.
So what we have right now, so if I look at our, come on, scroll. Look at our RR 1, 2, and 3 districts. We permitted solar to be up to 10 kilowatts. So that's very small because that's a personal size. And then I think in commercial, I thought we did a little bit. Commercial, thought we did 20 megawatts.
Kilowatts.
Yeah, sorry, kilowatts. Let's see here, if I scroll, get to commercial here, one of these years. Oh, it looks like, yeah, A2, we did 20 kilowatts, so I think we were kind of thinking if farm might have more demand for power. So we did 20 kilowatts in A2. And almost a commercial. In commercial, we did 100 kilowatts, so I guess we were kind of thinking like if Four Winds wanted to, you know, put a bunch of solar to try to power all their cooling and AC stuff, so we went up to 100 kilowatts in commercial. So if you want to go, so then in those districts, I think you'd have to do a CUP. How did we word that? Permitted uses in commercial, you can go to 100 kilowatts. And we don't even have it listed as a CUP to go higher than that. So basically it's prohibited over 100 kilowatts
Commercial.
in commercial. Yep.
But how about in like ag or forestry?
I think we capped it at that 20 then. We would have just said
Do
this
we
is,
have a CUP for greater?
let's see, we might have something in A2 maybe.
I'm
Because there,
thinking-
should we also be concerned about, there's a difference between generating electricity for personal and a company, you know, versus generating electricity to be sold.
Mhm.
And that's basically what Northwestern Electric was doing, was generating electricity on their own to be sold in the grid.
Right.
but technically, depending which power company you have, you're selling it back to the power company.
Yes, usually you can sell it,
Access.
but the intent normally isn't to generate, it's to.
Yeah, they were intending to supplement their grid rather than have to buy from outside. That's what they were doing.
So in A2, we say if you want to go over 20 kilowatts, then it's a CUP, but there's no cap.
Right.
So right now you could come in and say, I want to do 100 megawatts in
Mhm.
A2 and apply for it underneath that
Yeah,
provision.
And that's kind of where we went this morning, that's
Yeah.
something we need to visit is maybe capping non-industrial, commercial, but non-industrial level. Picking a number that, you know, has to be under this zoning district.
Well, that would be where you start putting solar panels and make it so that they have to rezone to industrial to, you know, get out of that A2, what, any other thing that they're trying to get it into. If they're going over a certain limit, that they need to rezone to industrial.
Yep, so you guys just gotta pick the number from 20 kilowatts to what? Do you want them to allow them to apply for a CUP? in A2 and not require a rezone? And then what number is gonna be the rezone pick threshold
Right.
where that?
That was like, if we're going back to the model of Webb Lake, or maybe a little bigger, we'd be maybe saying 5 megawatts is the cap,
Yeah, that'd be
No.
like 25 acres probably, somewhere in there.
somewhere like that, and then above that, you gotta start talking to us about a industrial district.
So do we understand, like, the example that just came to mind in this conversation was, let's say Four Winds wants to put solar panels on their parking lot, right? You park underneath. Do we have any idea roughly, well, given that space, how much power they could create?
Oh, I could figure it out
Might
roughly
be.
here in a minute,
Yeah,
probably.
you
if
can-
I
And that would be a really rational use because you're already on a parking lot and you're not wasting
You're not-
decent land.
Right.
Right.
Putting it on top of a building.
Yeah, I've even seen this being applied as far as in the median on a freeway.
Yeah, that's.
It's basically wasted space there and
Are
why
there
not?
any
Well,
reflection issues as far as the airport goes?
It almost looks like Four Winds has their whole roof covered with solar panels, which I never noticed before. But yeah, we could help their parking lot here real quick. I'll just do the parking lot for the Four Winds, so that's about 1.3 acres. So if I go 1.3 acres of solar equals kilowatts, question mark, enter, let's see what Google spits at me. 1.3 acres of solar is roughly equal to 400 kilowatts of power.
So even there.
Which is enough to power about 45 to 50 typical homes, it says. About 1 acre. 1.3 acre.
Do you remember what they were asking for in Webb Lake? How much they would generate?
Oh,
I remember them saying like 65 homes.
1.5 megawatts?
600.
600?
Oh,
So, okay.
that's why they were in the megawatts.
Yeah.
It's like 1.5, wasn't it, or about?
Something like that. I could look it up here again. I could pull up their
But
CUP.
again, that was because of their area, not just by me, but I'm in Pope Burnett. Was browning out in summer from high demand and days like today, you know? I mean, that's the place I see the real benefit of it, is being able to supply that, but not sell it to somebody else in California, right? Made it up, but you know what I mean.
So anyway, we're
But
looking
but
for,
that wouldn't be part of this amendment. If we want to go back and cap that, that's a little separate project.
Yeah.
But I think, no, one step at a time, get this one and then say, we learned doing this, that we need to set some limits elsewhere. True, right?
Yep, yeah, cause the ag and the forestry and all that stuff, it needs to have a cap in there where it needs to be rezoned, cause they start putting. Buying up forest land and keeping it forest and they're not paying any taxes on it that.
And to a certain extent, well, we can't say we're doing this because we want to ban them anyway. Really big ones and data centers and stuff, but saying that we're gonna have a fairly intense approval process would probably discourage them from asking in the first place. Maybe that's what we gotta look at without saying that is our real reason to do it. We want to be protecting our constituents, so, and this is what we think our constituents would want us to do, right?
Webb Lake was 2.5 megawatts,
Okay,
which the math,
so but saying like a cap of 5 wouldn't be that unreasonable then. That'd be still under 20 acres of land typically used for it.
Well, I just hate to see, they stay underneath that threshold and start putting up a whole bunch of small ones all over in an area.
well, you could do you could do can't think of the right word, but you could do a buffer where you're only allowed so many. You could say you can't have one
Right.
within 1,000 feet proximity.
Proximity,
You could say you can't have one within 1,000 feet of another one to limit someone playing that game.
We talked-
Or you'd say if it's owned by the same entity, but then they'll do LLC 1, LLC 2, LLC
we
3.
talked about that with campgrounds and
Yes.
it never did develop. But the argument was, well, what's to stop them from, we capped the total number of campers, right? Maximum size. Well, why can't they do one right next door? We should have to be like 5 miles apart or something. We could look at that. But
Vaping shops is another example where they have this proximity rule in some jurisdiction.
yeah, that I think would be when we put a ceiling, then proximity might be something we want to look at.
Yep.
I think that makes sense as developing that.
But then remember, then the argument with campgrounds was maybe you want to concentrate them in one spot. So they're not popping up everywhere around the county and you maybe just say, this is the corridor where that activity is gonna take place, cause maybe that's where the power infrastructure is or something, so you
Right.
could, playing devil's advocate, you could argue.
You can argue it both ways really, but the reality though is the campers, it was involve people and density and using infrastructure and all that stuff that was an issue. And this is generating power, so it's gonna be a different controlling mechanism anyway. But I think that would keep somebody from taking separate ownership on 440s and having each one full, right?
Right.
That's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So it could be a relatively small proximity setback, but something to talk about. But we're kind of out of our actual mission for today with that, but talking about needing to address this is what led us realizing you need to look at that too,
Right.
right?
So for Jason to move forward with filling this out, what, is
So.
there a question you want answered?
Well, so what I did is the yellow language was the language that you guys have looked at for a few months now. The gray is new stuff that I added. And then the blue is kind of questions. That I was looking kind of answers or help with.
I liked the blue.
I
I do
think-
like the blue.
I was thinking the blue stuff is the kind of stuff we want to put in
Yep.
development agreement and then
Yeah.
list those things underneath that we might do. Because otherwise we're trying to figure out what we ought to apply to everybody. And if we're gonna do a development agreement at need, we can tweak it.
So basically what I did is Google knows everything, so I basically went into Google and I just started searching, data center ordinances, so I was looking at stuff like in Virginia and who knows where, and I was trying to okay, that's where I found some of these definitions. And decommissioning plans and some of the.
That model ordinance talked about battery storage and had some very detailed specifics for battery storage about, that I don't even pretend to understand what they are, right? But they are standards out there for the actual product. So that would
Yeah.
be, we
You
might
know,
wanna,
like the 500 feet from, in the blue section here. From sites zoned for residential purposes, I think that should almost be farther. Cause I was looking at thing in Michigan where there was this great big data center and I don't remember if it was across the road from some people or if it was not too far down the road and it was so loud, it was like 65 decibels at the guy's place.
that's a lot. Yeah,
And so it almost should be, probably a minimum a half a mile or something like that.
you might wanna say something, and two things that come up about that, but one of them is not from the property line necessarily, but from the actual facility.
Right.
And then secondly, is at the same time, the guy who owns the land adjoining it is limited from being, it affects his value if he can't
Right.
sell it or whatever. So and Jay said that there are some places that say if the data center is there first, and people choose to move closer to
Right.
it, that's on them.
Right.
But to start out with, you have to maintain that much separation.
Right, yeah, cause this guy had been at his house for 20, 30 years or whatever, and the data center come in
Yeah,
and
that's,
it's so noisy that.
yeah, that's, I've heard that other places, lots of noise, lots of, you know, when they build it, of course, it's a big construction project, but then there's nothing after that. And the other thing that occurs to me, we might want to add in the blue is some security assurances, because we shouldn't have to be consuming law enforcement to protect it either.
Right, they have to put up like tall walls like along the freeway or something like that to
Or
maybe try to help deaden the noise.
maintain their own surveillance and security, because it's gonna be a theoretical target for somebody for
Right.
some reason.
In the
Yeah.
first yellow section, it talks about dust, odor, noise. Do we need to be more specific there? You know, because it said that it would not be detrimental, you know, but is that specific enough? Because we could say it is detrimental because the noise is.
Well, and that's why in like the blue sections, you know, I had stuff about like require like a sound modeling study. You know, there's engineers that can model and I didn't even know that apparently these things cause vibration issues, which I didn't. I was, that's why I'm like vibration limits, and I didn't know that was a problem with data centers, so.
That's the things that we don't know is, I think, where we address it by adding the provision for developmental agreement.
Yeah.
To address all of these, including but not limited to
Mhm.
these things. And then security setback beyond a certain number, put a certain number in there, maybe 500 feet, but also have provisions for greater under an agreement that we would negotiate, should we have to.
Cause you know, a lot of these people around that area where the data center went in, their groundwater turned colors, you know, from clear to brown and.
They were pumping it and putting it back, right? Wasn't a closed loop.
Whatever, they were, or using so much that.
Well, that the code of depression thing, you know, for really high consumption pumping. But they must not have been closed looped, I gotta think.
I was recently talking to someone in South Dakota who data centers were going in on either side of their several thousand acre farm property. But what booted them out was the construction. I mean, so is there anything, I mean, like, do they have to construct their own roads? Can it not be gravel, you know, dust? I mean, is there anything to do with the construction of it? Because that was the main problem they were dealing with is constant trucks and going
Well,
back to
yeah,
their
that would probably
families.
be part of that development agreement where you'd say, you know, you're gonna build your own road and you're gonna pave it, or after you destroy it, or, yeah.
Dust, or keep it
Yeah.
dust free.
Well, that's what
That was-
most townships, you know, if they want, you know, they make food. Grantsburg Township had people that bought some land, they wanted to do a development, but they wanted the township to take and build the road. The township said, no, that's on you.
Mhm.
You know, you want a road, you gotta build up and pave it to county specs, and
Right,
then we'll take it over and maintain it.
and that was the stuff that was in the St. Croix County Development Agreement, it had to do with that too, that original construction, road work, all that stuff.
But that costs a lot of money for townships to
Well,
try
right.
to go in there and build it or whatever.
That used to be, but you're gonna get the taxes, but the taxes don't support what it costs to build a road. So no, you're right.
So I like all this talk about the setback and the buffer and all that stuff. Is it possible to word something in there too? Let's say you bought a wooden lot and you wanted to put something in there. That I can't stand these people that clear cut the whole thing and then they put a buffer after the fact with trees sparsed every 20 feet. Can you come up with something that would just say, you know, that buffer from the start, just leave those trees and maybe cut.
Yeah, we could do something, and here's where then they'll play the game. They'll say, well, all of a sudden now those trees are dead or dying or diseased, so we gotta cut them down because it's a fire hazard or safety hazard. You know, you get an one tree with oak wilt, they'll go, oh, we gotta cut them all down now to prevent it from spreading. So I mean, people will play the
Then-
game. But yeah, we can put language in to say the natural buffer must remain of so many feet or the
Maintain-
existing buffer
maintain.
must remain.
Right.
What happens though if they, before they technically bought it, they had the prior owner log it all off, clear cut it, and then they buy it the day later, you know, have a handshake. you
Yeah,
know,
we
I-
can't write that stuff to
Correct.
avoid it, but
Yeah, yeah.
at least
We would
try.
Yes,
Well,
but they're,
that again, in the buffer section that we put in there, we could put in, you know, what you do if you're planting a buffer. That's the standards, or an existing buffer needs to be maintained at the stem density and
density and width.
width and
Height and all that.
canopy and
Yep.
ground cover as it exists at the time. You know, because you can do that too. You can replant what you had rather than just what's cheap,
But
right?
I do think it's important to have the specifics about maintaining it, because I think we've encountered that. We've asked people to put in buffers and then it's like, well, I put them there and I didn't water them and they died. I mean, so maintaining it, maintaining. the
But we're
buffer.
talking, you know, we're talking relatively modest screening buffers. But one of these, you know, you'd want to have pretty thick screening, but also buffering noise. you know,
Well, it sounds
all
like
that
most
stuff.
of these have fencing for security purposes. So yeah, you're gonna have a fencing, for sure, it's gonna be fenced, probably just for security. And then, yeah, do you wanna have buffer to hide the fence and the noise and the,
I liked the tree and shrub.
yeah, I still again stole that from somebody's ordinance,
Yeah,
so.
It's a good combination.
But, you know, for like a data center where they're making a lot of noise, I think it ought to have, like along the freeway where you got the houses and they've got these tall
The noise barrier.
Noise
noise
barriers.
barriers, that it needs to have something like that at 20 feet high or something like that to help barrier, you know,
Again,
cut the noise down.
that whole list of stuff like that could be, you know,
Items
options.
we're gonna consider if a data center wants to come in here, we're gonna look at all these criteria.
All these things will be in our developmental agreement,
Yep.
you know, because that way we're not pigeonholing down to what we said, but not what we didn't say. So we're providing, including but not limited to, is what we gotta say, all of these issues. Because if another issue comes up that isn't listed, but it's brought before us, we gotta be able to address it, right?
Do data centers have a certain amount of battery storage? So they can.
I think well, for backup power?
Yeah, and then also they can accumulate power
I
overnight.
don't think they got battery storage, they probably got generators.
That's what they've had.
Most of them had, I was reading, had generators, and that's why I, again, pirated some language about saying that they had to have at least 50%. Did I make up something about? Yeah, battery storage shall account for at least 50% of the total on-site backup energy needs. Some county or someone had that,
Right, and that.
so they don't all have
They could
diesel
have
generators.
to collect that,
Yeah.
right? On their own roof and all that, and then that limits at least the amount of generator diesels that'll be running, which again, noise and air pollution both from that.
Like, and I have that where they have to put solar panels on the roof. I put that in there because I saw some requirement had that, again, to try to offset the need for having all the generators for backup power. So you'd, you'd have solar on the roof, some battery backups for that to help eliminate the need of having diesel generators running.
The whole question is, it can't go down,
Yes,
and that's why there was one there being built in Wisconsin somewhere where, again, maybe that's where I got the V-Energies thing instead of Excel, is building a propane or, you know, natural gas powered generation plant to power the data center, right? That's a pretty big project in southern Wisconsin, I forget where exactly. But the point is that they would do that probably because they had to, but if they didn't have to, they wouldn't, right? There was another way. Well, anyway, to get back to what we gotta finish here. We come up with language about the 10 acres and 20 acres with batteries and without batteries.
I mean, I guess what I could do is we could have another draft to look at next month. I can put some numbers in there to give us a
Yeah, let's do that.
starting talking point.
Let's do that. So we gotta please, it's not final, but let's
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
do that.
I think if you went much smaller than 40 acres, if you're, I mean, to have room for all the buffers, zones and everything, I mean, at some point it'd be.
I said acres, I should have said megawatts.
Yeah.
But was within the nominal 20 and 10 acre production of megawatts is what we were gonna do.
I don't know, I'm gonna have to listen to the recording to see what numbers we were all hashing out, so that's how, or you tell me a number now, or I'll pick one, I guess, whatever.
Pick one based on what we said, but I think,
Okay, there
I
you go.
think what we were doing, we were talking about land, then we switched to megawatts.
Yep.
Based on how much land it takes to make those megawatts, that,
Well, except for a rezone, it's gonna have to be acres.
oh, sure,
Right.
but for,
But I would calc it backwards
Got it.
based on the size that you guys are worried about and then convert
Yeah,
that
if
to
you-
acres.
if you're thinking about it, it might have quite a few more acres because of buffers and other things we require, but the amount of production of power was where we were setting the trips for the, having to be in this district. That was what it amounts to. For now.
Oh, good luck.
Thanks. I'm on vacation for a while in July, so I guess I'll mull this while I'm seeing the site. I
So Viola Lake and right around there, that was like 3
think 2.5 or 3 megawatts.
megawatts.
Yep, and about 14 acres. Yeah.
Yep, so I think it would, go there, got 3 megawatts.
So is that about the size of the Northwestern proposal then?
Yeah, it was 2.5 at 14 acres.
And is there any desire to keep separate a business from a business who wants to basically supplement their own site, their own business with some solar panels? Keep that separate from,
Yeah, so I think that's why we would say, like, if you're over 3 megawatts, you're probably no longer trying to do it just for your own business. You are trying to sell it or power hundreds of homes. So yeah, I think that's why if you had under a certain size, you could ask for a CUP in a few districts, but then once you hit this, whatever number we come up with, yeah, that's no longer personal or
right?
site use. That's trying to generate a lot of power to sell.
Sure.
So, yep.
Okay, then the other thing we wanna look at is that with our conditions attached, we would add developmental agreements and enumerate a bunch of those blue things that we might wanna consider. Because if we are dealing with a big one, we're gonna wanna keep as many cards in our hand as we can, right? And then,
Well, and under item 11, where I have there in gray, I put utility plans and operational capacity needs regarding electricity, water, fiber, security, noise, fencing, cooling systems, backup power, odor, vibration, stormwater, wastewater, solid waste, dust, smoke, glare, heat islands, etc. So I tried to capture everything, yeah, that we're gonna be looking at or
Mhm.
considering when one of those comes through.
And how about something as simple, it's probably too vague, but just natural beauty? I mean, we are a tourist area, and if I gotta drive 5 miles worth of 70 and look at that,
Rather than corn or trees or whatever.
yeah.
it's something that is, shoreline zoning actually has some language about natural beauty.
Yeah.
Kind of looked at that a little bit, but
But then is that any less, or is that any more ugly than storage buildings all over the place?
They,
I mean, just saying,
it's in the eye of the
Right.
beholder.
I-
it is.
Storage buildings probably at least are scattered maybe a little bit more than if you had a giant data center where it was, a half-mile long building.
10 feet.
Right.
I wish people would just get rid of their junk and not have to have storage buildings, except we do have stuff in the village where we don't want a boat trailer and a snowmobile trailer and this and that and all parked in your driveway or on the street, so.
Gotta have storage facilities,
Yeah.
yep.
Well, are we at the point where we've kind of put some more suggestions in?
Yeah, you've bombarded me with enough stuff, I think, to,
Keep you out of trouble.
yeah, I don't know, that takes a lot. Yeah,
I think,
I'll
I think we
take another
covered.
whack at it.
Well, it's what happened was a reasonable question about what do you mean by that? Opened up a whole bunch of things we hadn't covered yet. That we, that's the good part. It'd be better to do that now than have adopted something that we find we created a conflict with ourselves, but we didn't do that. So we'll be moving this along to next month for a draft. And we'll probably, would be September type public hearing if we are happy with what we got.
October. Cause I got a notice about 6 weeks
All
ahead.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. It's okay.
Yeah, but we're working on it, so.
So, because we got a few more things to do yet today before we adjourn with our reports.
Those are pretty quick though. Yeah, so the staff, land services reports, basically what staff's been working on is in their budget report. Everything's pretty much, revenue's down a touch, compared to last year.
What was down?
Revenue.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at,
Permits for new dwellings also down.
down a little bit, yep. Otherwise, there's really nothing in there out of line wise. Well, let's see here. I think our deer hit, our vehicle damage is shown in here. So if you look on budget report page 2, there's a repair and maintenance service, a $10,000 transaction.
Oh, okay.
That's deer damage, and I think we'll get 5,000 of that back. Cause with the
Yeah.
$5,000 deductible, so we pay the first 5, and then we'll get the rest back.
Hit it here. I'm sorry.
With the 24 truck, it's always the new zoning trucks too. When we bought the 14, somebody hit a deer with it the first year. I was driving the 24, hit a deer with it in 26. It's like, things are rodents running around all over the
The
place.
deer's fault.
Yeah.
And as far as Board of Adjustment, it's not on this report, but just a question on how things work. Kind of the expansion of that campground. That ends up being, what determines like what comes here and what comes to?
Well, you guys are in charge of what the ordinance says.
Right, and I just don't know.
Yep, so any ordinance language comes to you guys, and then our ordinance says subdivision variances come to this board. So if somebody was trying to create substandard lots, make lots that are smaller than what the ordinance allows, that comes to this board. But then if anyone wants to get a variance, so something that the ordinance doesn't allow, that goes to the Board of Adjustment. So you guys are in charge of what the ordinance says. If somebody can't meet what the ordinance says, then they ask the Board of Adjustment for relief to that.
And try to demonstrate a hardship,
Yes.
which would be non-financial typically, right?
Yes.
Do you go to all those?
Yes.
Board?
Yes, that's why I was here till 9 o'clock last night. Yes.
Cause right now we've got 26 variances, and from what I can do quickly is 2 of them were denied and 24 were accepted.
No, 26 is how many we've got in the
Sorry,
queue.
13. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
had 13 last month, so 2 were denied and
11 approved.
11 approved.
Yeah, and then they approved 4 last night, cause those aren't in this report. And then we've got 10 coming up in August. Yeah, that's what I said with some other choice words, so.
I feel like we're sending the message, and I'm somewhat joking, but sort of not really, that if I wouldn't have known this, whatever it was, 5 years ago, when I added on to my storage shed, I would have put another 20 feet on and gone and asked for forgiveness.
that might be a strategy for people to try.
I mean, we don't have control over what the Board of Adjustment does, but I am concerned about it. The tendency, or it's more beneficial to not follow the rules in this county right now. And I just don't know what the resolution to that is. I mean, because we're in essence penalizing people who want to do it right. You know, they're paying more, they're waiting longer, you know, to follow the rules. And that just seems a little bit backwards, but I don't know that we have anything we can do about that.
Are you referring to the concept of it's easier to receive forgiveness than permission?
To some extent.
Well, not just
it seems
forgiveness,
to be the
we're
case.
rewarding it.
I mean, there are many projects that get approved by the BOA where I've told people exact same things, they cannot do it.
Well-
People that ask ahead of
Yeah,
time.
you have to,
Yeah.
because that's why they're at the BOA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And the question becomes, if the BOA is getting into a case of empathizing too much with the applicant and not following the ordinance, right? And
So,
that's dangerous in a way, because they tend to sympathize with people sometimes,
so the BOA reports to Don.
kind of, yeah.
BOA members are appointed by the county board, yes.
Well, we just voted, we just approved
Yeah,
Yeah,
the appointment of two of them.
they're a quasi judicial body. Essentially, they're a court. They're like a
Jury of their
Supreme
peers.
Court justice. They get appointed and then
Well,
nobody's
So does
overseeing
Don
them.
get a report on like this?
No.
I mean, this is, I don't specifically give this
Right.
report to anyone else. I mean, it comes to the committee, it's all online. Yeah, I'm not,
I mean, I guess, I personally, I would like at some point in the future to have Don join this meeting and have a discussion about how do we reverse this trend?
You know, the truth of the matter is that this county used to have maybe one of the strictest boards in the state, and it's probably got the most lenient board in the state right now. And okay, so what's the remedy? That's a really good question that has been kicked around, but
Well, and I don't know, I feel like we've gone to some training and some sessions or whatever you wanna call them that talk about hardship.
They've gone to the same training.
Have they all?
Yeah, they went to the same ones we did.
Okay, because there's some new people, but
They were there.
I just,
some of it is that the rules used to be very strict. And at the state level, the shoreline code was relaxed a lot. And I almost think in some ways it was counterproductive, because you can approve certain things that would have never been approved before now, because of square footage and impervious surface and other things. So you can have a 3-foot tall grain elevator cabin 35 feet back. A 3-story, I mean.
Yeah.
Which would have never been permitted in the past, but now the board looks at that and says, well, you can do that, why can't they do this? Maybe, I don't know.
yeah, I think they look at, like 35 seems to be a number that they try to have in the line in the sand. Because the state, allows you, if you're beyond 35 feet from the ordinary high water mark, you can do lateral expansions. So they give you ways to make the footprint bigger. So I think the Board of Adjustment kind of looks at those numbers and says, well, if the state's okay with stuff happening beyond this point, we should be okay with it too, I guess. I don't know, but I'm assuming that's.
Yeah, it's sort of
how
that
it feels.
35 is the new 75
Yeah.
in a way. Which was unintentional, I think, even at the state level, but it's an outfall. There's some things to look into, but it's a difficult thing, because you're appointing a citizen body that's independent of elections, essentially.
Well, and it's not like we have a waiting list for people to get on BOA.
No, that's the problem.
So,
too. It's-
again, it's a thankless job, that not a lot of people want to do it.
Have there been any court reversals that have maybe influenced their thinking that, well, maybe the judges don't are more restrictive?
Someone has to have the money.
ways and so
Well,
on?
Burnett, hasn't been one appealed in Burnett County, and I don't even know, I mean, besides some CUPs that have been appealed to court.
One
I
other
don't
thing,
think
just
there's been a setback variance.
for the board's oversight, okay? It used to be that the Department of Natural Resources for shoreline variances had the right to appeal a decision by a county board. Take the county to court. The legislature in its infinite wisdom removed that authority. So there's no consequence for a erroneous decision.
So it's basically gotta be an upset neighbor or an upset township or an upset party, you know?
Actually, we used to have, I remember talking to somebody, we used to have a public intervener at the state level. Before your time and everybody else's time, it was the office of this in the DNR to sue the DNR, right? And that was involved, her name was Kathy Fox, she became the Dane County executive ultimately. Anyway, but when we were going through the original redo in 2000 of the sanitary code and whatnot, the public intervener was involved in overseeing the public interest in those protection of water, groundwater, stuff like that. That got eliminated too, right? But the point was, the part of the justification was that any citizen in Wisconsin has the power of the public intervener to contest a decision, just not the money. No.
Correct.
You know? So yeah, any one of us could go, that's a ridiculous thing and file an appeal. I don't know if we felt like it. But within a 30-day limit. So anyway, though, that's more than you needed to know maybe, but that's the history kinda. So, anything else? I got off on my tangents like I do all the time, so. We got our reports, future agenda items, we're continuing with I2.
We'll have the land services budget request would be on that August agenda as well. Then, well, for sure, there's already one CUP. Or no, we've already got next month's, I think it's for September already. Yeah, so there's a few public hearings already for next month as well.
Yeah.
And we have the big one by the town of Roosevelt.
Yes, that one, 47 rezones or something like that,
Yeah, why don't you just send that?
Oh, it's revising its map,
yeah,
basically, removing a lot of RR1 scattered around among ag.
yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
I think I've talked to everyone that was concerned already. I was surprised. Roosevelt sent letters to everybody and apparently had everything cleared through. Boy, that I got that first week that letter went out, I think I got about 8 phone calls from people going, why are you guys rezoning my land? And I'm like, well, I thought you guys already heard about this, so, but after that flood of calls, it's been quiet and everybody's been happy about it once I explained to them why it's
I
being
think for the
done.
most part, they're all for it. once
Oh,
they
yeah.
understood what it was,
Yes,
because that is, little clusters of high density lots mixed in the ag district aren't very helpful.
once I explained to them that a developer, could drop 40 houses on a 40-acre parcel, they were like, oh my gosh, that's horrible, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's for it, but some people didn't understand it, I guess, so.
Well, no, it's a notice from the government.
Yeah,
it's like getting
exactly.
drafted or something,
Yep.
right? So, with anything else, nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Supervisor Moyer to adjourn, second. Whole bunch of people, Randy did, okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You're adjourned.
August 4th, meeting.